Hey everyone, I wanted to talk today about what I usually refer to as like surreal movies, existential movies that focus on surrealism and these different sorts of ideas. So today we're going to talk about 5 movies that gave me weird, trippy dreams. Number 5 is Existence, or Existence. Anyway, this is a 1999 film starring Jude Law and Jennifer Jason Leigh. It also has appearances from some really great actors like Willem Dafoe. For a little bit, Christopher Eccleston has a small part in the film. Now, this movie focuses on a weird, gross video game. It's a virtual reality game that is meant to seem like real life. I mean, as any virtual reality game would, but the real kicker of this film is you can't tell exactly when something is happening and when something isn't happening. I don't want to give too much away, but the film sort of flows back and forth from this kind of convention where they're testing out this video game to sort of the video game itself. And there's a lot of elements that will remind you of different films that came out in that time, like The Matrix. There's this idea of kind of jacking in that's very similar in Existence. This movie, I didn't mention before, is directed by David Cronenberg, and it is very much a Cronenberg film. It's got a lot of that kind of, I mean, not necessarily like body horror, but this very strange sort of like trippy, body elements. Like it has a lot of physical interaction and some weird kind of sounds, squishy kind of sounds. And that makes it very eerie and trippy and strange and, again, kind of gross and disgusting, but it's David Cronenberg. You know, what would you expect? This film, like I said, has that element of, is this happening? Is this not happening? Is this real? Is this a dream? Is this the game? Is there a difference? Is this just real life? Is this just fantasy? And it all kind of blurs together and you don't know what's real and what isn't. And there's these kind of ideas which are like, they seem to be parody of the commentary and concerns, the conspiracy around video games. You know, if you spend too much time in the game, what's real, and it blurs your own lines with reality. And it's really interesting to watch for that sort of that trippy feeling that you get, and to kind of think, what escapism does to us. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the kind of escapism like this, or like with video games. But there's some interesting thoughts there. So definitely recommend Existence. It came out again around the same time as like that Dark City, The Matrix, 13th Floor, all these really kind of weird, surreal films. And it's definitely one that I don't hear people talking about as much. And it's just weird and fun and cool. And the Willem Dafoe scenes are just, I mean, that's worth the price of admission alone. Willem Dafoe in a David Cronenberg movie. Go check it out. All right. Number 4. Let's talk about Paprika. So, I want to be clear. I'm not doing a countdown list as like, this is the best one. This is the one you need to check out. So, Paprika is by no means like not the best film in this list. It's probably the best film in this list as far as quality of film and content. So, if you're not familiar with Paprika, basically, this is one of the stylistic films that very likely, if not definitely, influenced the film Inception. Now, I'm a big fan of films like Inception, and I think that when Inception came out, it was a very fun concept. It was really interesting. It was really out there, and not a lot of movies had really done anything like Inception. But the issue that I had with Inception, being someone who's really into lucid dreaming, or has been into lucid dreaming at different times, and is definitely very into dreams and what they might mean and what they are and everything like that, I think it fell a little short in that Inception has very clean, very well put together dreams. And as much as it's this world of really kind of far out ideas, it's sort of post-apocalyptic, but maybe, I guess, utopian future, more so, would be a better term for it. Like, as much as I love Christopher Nolan and a lot of his movies, again, it looks very sterile, it looks very clean, and dreams aren't normally like that. Not only are there these weird kind of scenarios and these characters that we forget about upon waking up, and not only do dreams provide this sort of platform for anything to happen, but dreams are weird and out there and strange and crazy, and that's Paprika. Paprika is, yeah, it's an anime and it feels very anime, but it feels very much like dreams. And maybe anime is the best sort of platform for a dream movie. And without even getting into Paprika, I'm not really gonna talk too much about the plot and everything. It's way out there, and there's so much going on to it. There's so many beautiful elements of Paprika and the dreams that some of the different characters are having that it's really hard to sort of capture all of that in this video. But there things like weird, like stuffed animals popping out of nowhere. There's a lot of like kind of elements of like people jumping inside of each other, in and out of each other's bodies. There's one of the main characters has this recurring dream of being chased, and he can't see the other character's face in front of him. And it really captures that strange sort of feeling with your dreams that you've been there before, or some place is familiar, but you don't recognize it, or it seems familiar while you're having the dream, but then you kind of wake up and, not so much. So I want to recommend it for that reason. So it's directed by Satoshi Kon, by the way, and it's based on Yasutaka Tsutsu's 1993 novel of the same name, about a research psychologist who uses a device that permits therapists to help patients by entering their dreams. So you can divulge how problematic that idea might be. By the way, that's from SatoshiKonFandom.com. So the visuals in Paprika, I can't recommend it enough, but also the ideas and sort of the strange imagery that not only is present in the film, but is evoked in my mind when I watched it. Number 3, I think we're going to talk about Vanilla Sky. So the reason I keep thinking of Vanilla Sky is going off of Paprika and An Existence. Vanilla Sky is it's a stranger case in that I don't think a film like this would be made today. Vanilla Sky, if you haven't heard of it, is this sort of strange Tom Cruise vehicle from 2001. And when this film came out, I remember the marketing was very strange. It really didn't get into how weird and dreamlike this movie is. It plays with the idea of whether or not this character is going through maybe a coma or just some kind of strange daydream after an accident. And again, I don't want to give too much where I can't say too much, but there's, again, that element of what's actually happening? What's real? At what point does reality become a dream? Does reality become surreal? And it's hard to say until a certain point of the movie. And then, even then, there are certain things that are like, well, did this ever really happen? What did this mean? And it's fun in a very similar way to movies like Wizard of Oz. And I know that's maybe a strange one to bring up, but if you Remember Wizard of Oz? One of the fun gimmicks of that movie is everything that plays out before Dorothy goes into Oz plays out again in Oz. And then when she wakes up, each character and a lot of the things that she encountered are explained as like these were these different characters in real life that her brain was sort of interacting with. And you know, when you have a dream and you're maybe close to waking up, and I know myself, I have the radio playing all the time, and I hear a song and it's in the background and I don't know where it's playing because I don't know that I'm dreaming yet. Or maybe I kind of half know. And there's that struggle. If you're familiar with lucid dreaming, for a lot of people, the more you know you're dreaming, the less time that you have. Sometimes when you're, at least before you kind of get used to lucid dreaming again, some people can lucid dream well enough that like they know they're dreaming and they can keep the dream going for a good amount of time. And of course, dreams always seem like they're longer than they probably are. But I'll hear a song in the back of my mind and it's, you know, it's actually playing, and I'll wake up and the song will still be playing because the dream isn't actually as long as it had seemed. And that's the kind of element that Vanilla Sky has, is there's these things that are going on that kind of make you go, well, is this a sign that that was a dream? Because this is something that his subconscious is dealing with. This is something that his subconscious is triggering different images of, and that he's reacting to. Plus, it's Tom Cruise. Penelope Cruz is in a part of the film as a main character. Of course, she's great. Cameron Diaz for a little while. Kurt Russell is a really excellent kind of psychiatrist type character. And he's helping the Tom Cruise character kind of go through the trauma from the accident that he's in. Jason Lee is in a good portion of the movie, and he's great. So excellent cast. Really recommend Vanilla Sky if you want a Tom Cruise vehicle that is kind of post-apocalyptic and will trip you out trying to kind of get through this existential sort of landscape. Let's talk about Waking Life. I'm reluctant to talk about Waking Life because every time I want to do a video on Waking Life, if I show clips, it gets a copyright strike. So let's see how much I can talk about it without the video being taken down. It's not just that I can't monetize it. I don't monetize most of my videos, but they've literally gotten taken down for talking about Waking Life. Waking Life is one of my favorite movies. It is, I believe, from 2001. Yeah, 2001. It's a Richard Linklater film. I haven't seen too many Richard Linklater films. He's a great filmmaker. And the entire premise of Waking Life is the main character is in this ongoing, flowing dream, and the entire film is a series of vignettes one after the other, that talk about existentialism, some light philosophy, and a lot of different ideas on dreaming, lucid dreaming, and what it means and what that's like. And I have found this film fascinating for what's been about 20 years now. I didn't see it when it first came out. It was under the radar for a few years for me. But when I finally saw it, I thought it was the most amazing thing. The entire movie is rotoscoped, and it's rotoscoped by like different artists throughout different scenes. So not every segment is rotoscoped in the same way. The styles change and they're very different, and that adds to the entire dream feel of the movie. And there's these sketches that it starts off with the character watching people talk and have these kind of existential conversations about different ideas revolving around existentialism and philosophy and dreams. And then it gets into lucid dreams, and as it gets into lucid dreams, the main character starts to interact more with some of the characters, and he starts to have more of a interactive part with everything that's going on around him. And it feels like a dream because you're sort of observing and watching these different things happen. There's these different stories that are like just very strange. It's characters that don't make a lot of sense, and it flows in and out like a dream. And it's very, very much something that, if you like it, I would recommend watching it multiple times to kind of think about the different ideas that are there and that are expressed. There's some really neat actors that pop up here and there, like Ethan Hawke for a moment. And that makes it pretty fun. There's some very interesting talk about Philip K. Dick later on in the film that I really enjoyed. It's an author that I really enjoy. It is great for those kind of existential films and ideas. I'd like to do a video in the future just to talk about films based on Philip K. Dick books. So, Waking Life. Pretty much the reason why I wanted to do this video. Finally, let's talk about Jacob's Ladder. Jacob's Ladder is a film from 1990, I'm sorry. And it stars Tim Robbins. This is one of my favorite Tim Robbins roles. This is before Shawshank, and it's a very strange role. Now, the kind of the premise of this movie is these sort of flashbacks this guy is having during Vietnam, and they're kind of flashbacks that go into his life and that posit these different ideas of where his life was going and could have gone, and you never really know whether some elements actually happened. It seems that he's married, that maybe he's divorced, he had a son that passed away, and maybe the marriage fell apart after that. I sound like I'm giving some away, but it's like that's not even the point of. People have said that the film is perhaps a sort of an adaptation of the Tibetan Book of the Dead, or a journey through purgatory, through hell into heaven. This sort of, his life is flashing before his eyes. I don't know, you be the judge. It's this very trippy kind of thing, to where you're wondering throughout almost the entire movie, is this guy dead? Is he alive? Is he dreaming? Is his life flashing before his eyes? What is really happening here? And there's these different spiritual characters that relate to angels and demons. And I think if you look at the movie not as a kind of commentary on the Vietnam War and some of the weird things that went down, and PTSD and drugs later on that it gets into, if you kind of take some of that for what it is, but mostly focus on the imagery and the sort of surreal ideas that are happening, I think the movie ends up being really, really intriguing for what it is and what is involved in it. And every time I watch it, I have this overflowing instance of remembering dreams that seem like, another life that could have happened, or that maybe did happen. That sort of strange idea brought up in the most recent Doctor Strange movie of like your dreams being about alternate universes and alternate versions of you. It's kind of a fun thought. I don't know what I think of it, but I think Jacob's Ladder is probably my favorite movie for wondering about that. To this day, I still don't know exactly what's really happening in that movie. And maybe I do, I just don't like to really confirm it in my head. I like to make different theories every time I watch it. So there you go. It's 5 movies to give you weird dreams, or to just make you think